All right, Josh, Big Joshy Swimbaits. We're going to talk about J5s. What's a J5? A J5 is a swim bait that we make. It's a 5-inch swim bait with a paddle tail, hook slot, made to be fished at slow speeds. Gives it a nice body rock and tail waggle. Let's talk about the color selection for these. I'm going to discuss them in order of brightness. In other words, the brighter the bait, the more reflective the bait, the more you should use it when the water is dark, dirty, cloudy days, after dark. And then the more translucent the bait, the more it's designed to be fished in high skies, clear water, pressured fish. So some of the colors that we have, we'll start with the dirty water colors. Number one, gotta have white. Plain white, red eye, shad spot. This is a must-have color for all fishing conditions, really. It will catch fish in clear water, but it's particularly useful when the water is dingy, the wind is really howling, the water is all stirred up after dark. Got to have white. Next color here we have is a new color, blue diamond chartreuse, highly reflective, blue back chartreuse stripe. I'm going to use this when I'm fishing for largemouth. Maybe they're schooling up on some shad, up on a point where the wind's blowing up and it's a little churned up. That's when this color should really shine. Should also be an awesome choice for after dark because of its reflectivity and the chartreuse. Fish like walleye, sawguy, they really like that hint of chartreuse to seal the deal. That's blue diamond chartreuse. Next up is a color that's been our number one seller. It's one of the first colors we came out with. Pearl shad. It's just pearl with a kind of pearl gray back. Imitates shad. You can use it in clear water, dirty water, all around. I've caught fish on this after dark. It's kind of a no-brainer. Looks like a fish. The fish think it's a fish and they eat it. Next up is another new color. It's a black diamond. So this is similar to the blue diamond in that it's very reflective, but it has a little bit more contrast. The back is kind of a smoky blue with a little bit of blue flake, and then the belly is a mixture of silver and pearl. This is a good shad imitation for a little bit lower light conditions. If there's a lot of wind or it's getting towards dusk, I'm going to want to throw this bait. It's got the gold eye also to imitate shad. Now you don't always want to imitate shad, so we do have a color to imitate bluegill and the different sunfish that are around. This is actually called green sunfish. Has a orangey belly and a green pumpkin back with some white flake mixed in, red eye. This is an awesome choice if the fish, say you're fishing in a pond or a lake that doesn't really have shad. This is definitely what you want to show to them. You can fish it around shallow cover, especially for largemouth. This is a good choice. Now the last two are particularly important for clear water because they're more translucent colors. And you also want to use these if you're fishing around fish that have seen a lot of lures. Fish that see a lot of lures, they tend to shy away from the really bright, loud colors. They want something that looks really natural, maybe even is hard to see, that they want to kind of hunt for. The first of these is one of the first colors we came out with also, but it's been modified a little. This is a striped shiner. It's got pearl powder in it, so it's reflective, but it's not completely full of pearl, so it's somewhat translucent still. And then we added a stripe down the side. That's the new change. And the reason we did that is this color is really, really good in rivers and creeks where you're trying to imitate all the little different types of minnows. There's so many different species of minnow that have that stripe down the center. And so that's why we call it striped shiner. This is a great choice, not just in rivers and creeks, but if you're fishing for pressured fish in lakes. That's striped shiner. And then for the ultimate clear water bait, we've got electric shad. This color is almost completely translucent, as you can see here on the belly. And then the back is like a smoky gray green, just a really natural color. And then what really sets this bait off is the violet highlight flake that's in it. It's a translucent flake, but man, in the sunlight, it just lights up with that violet, almost like a glow. It seems eerie, I'm not sure that it looks real natural, but the fish like it in clear water, that's for sure. Got a silver eye on there. I've had good success with this in water that's 15-foot visibility or more. So that's electric shad. So we've got all these colors, but how do you really fish this bait? How do you rig it up? Well, I'm going to show you. You can fish them, because of the belly slot, you can fish them on just a regular old swimbait hook. Screw lock swimbait hook. It's made to pair up the way that the hook slot is. It will pair up nicely with a 6/0 or a 5/0 hook. We sell a 6/0 hook with an 1/8 ounce weight. Now an 1/8 ounce weight, some people may say, well, I'd rather have a heavier weight. Well, it's harder to find a 6/0 hook with a light weight than, you know, a lot of times 1/8 ounce is hard to find. You may get a 1/4 or much heavier. But these baits, the reason that we sell an 1/8 is that these baits are made to be fished on lighter weights. Lighter weight swimbait hooks, lighter weight jigs, so that you can just really crawl them and even fish them in shallow water. 1, 2, 3 foot of water, you can fish this swimbait and get good action out of it. Whereas some swimbaits, you put a too light of a jig head and they just spiral. They don't work correctly. So we've got 6/0 swimbait hook. That's rigging option number 1. And then the way that I like to fish them most of the time is on a jig. This is a 4/0 jig that we sell. We call this our J5 jig. And the keepers on this jig, as you can see, are really nice. They lock that bait right on there. It doesn't come off, and you can really position the bait exactly right. And this is only a 1/4 ounce head. Like I said, a 1/4 ounce jig head on some swim baits isn't enough to get the tail to kick, particularly on the fall. But with these baits, you can have confidence that if you're letting that bait fall, even on the lighter jigs, even down to an 1/8 ounce, that tail is going to be kicking because we've designed it to do that. Now sometimes when you're fishing a jig head, you will miss some fish, especially if some of the smaller fish come up and slap at the bait, you'll miss them. So what I've started doing is I've started incorporating a stinger, as you can see here. What I do is I take a clip and then a length of braid and then a treble hook. This is a number 4 treble hook. And then once you tie up that rig, it's probably, the length of the braid is probably about 1.5 inches. And this is a size 0 clip. So once you clip it on the jig eye, then you have 2 options. You can either take one tine of the treble and slide it into the hook slot and then kind of skin hook it, and then it's locked there. So as this bait is traveling along, if a fish comes up from underneath and grabs it here, they will get hooked on that treble and it'll pull free. And then you're just fighting the fish on the treble, and when they shake, the weight of the lure is free, so you won't lose near as many fish. The other option is to take that treble and then cut off one of the tines. What I would do is I would cut it right about there. Cut it off to where it sticks just like that, and then take that cut tine and put it right here in the back of the bait, right there. And then in that rigging, you'll have 2 tines sticking up. It won't affect the action of the bait. And the same thing, if a fish comes up from behind and misses that main hook, they'll still get that treble. Since I've started implementing this rigging, I've caught so many more fish. And you'll be surprised how many times a small fish, little smallmouth, little largemouth, even little saw guy, they'll come up and smack this thing, and they won't be much bigger than the bait, but you'll hook them on that rig. So it's a very important rig to have ready to go. So that's one of the ways that I like to fish the J5 Swimbait. So that about does it. We've talked about colors, we've talked about rigging. If you're interested in buying some of these baits, just check us out at BigJoshySwimbaits.com. Thanks for watching.